Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome ToracM.
Hello, my children. How are we all doing today? I come to you with great love, with many things to touch on, many adventures we will take together through the realms of knowledge, which will ultimately lead us to greater places. First, I'd like to speak about your moon, the moon of your Earth. It's a magical thing, very magical thing. Without your moon circling your Earth, in the way it does, in the pattern it does, at the distance it does, at the rate it does. If all of that wasn't down to an exact precision, life wouldn't exist here. Did you know that? That's just one thing about the moon. It causes tidal patterns in your oceans that cause fish to migrate, lay eggs, eat other fish, do certain things. It starts in a chain reaction of ecosystems just by the tides rolling in and out. That's caused by the gravitational pull of the moon. It's close and it's far. So without that being there out in the sky that we take for granted, we wouldn't exist. Let me rephrase that. Third dimensional beings wouldn't exist on Earth. We'd be helping third dimensional entities to try to ascend from a different actual physical location instead of your actual Earth location. I've touched on ancient aliens. I want to remind you, purposely watch that show, and every time you hear him say, ancient astronaut proponents think so, or ancient astronaut theorists agree that man could have came down long ago and been confused as gods. Not man, but aliens. And the aliens didn't know. They didn't realize they didn't think they were gods. The people didn't know that they weren't gods. So it was all a big misunderstanding. Every time they say ancient alien proponents suspect or anything like that, just replace those words with ancient ancestors of your people suspect. Or proponents of the ancient ancestor theory suspect that long ago their children's 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 children figured out a way to come back in time. And, well, if you ever hear that, your ears will ring and probably burn, because that's the truth, and it won't happen. You'll never hear that from the government or any official thing. I'm official, but not in your world yet. Where I come from in the quantum, I'm very official. God, James, you're getting so much better at this. I'm really loving James's mouthpiece. He's getting way, way better at this. At first he was sluggish and a little off. Now he's just into it. So, back to the moon. Another thing about the moon. It's the exact distance away from the sun that when the sun passes behind the moon, which is what you call a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, the size difference is relative to the distance geologically away it is, so that it perfectly blocked. The size is equal, even though they're however many millions of miles apart. The moon is 80 times closer to the Earth than the sun. The moon is 80 times smaller than the sun. Therefore, where it sits when there's an eclipse, it matches the size. If that's not something that would blow your mind, I don't know what is. What are the odds of that? What are the odds of that accidentally happening? I'll say this again. There are no odds. There's no odds. You can make your own odds, but they're not even odds, because if you make it, you know. So it's 100 to 1 or 100 to 0 are your odds. If you put a request to the universe, odds are 100 to 0 you're going to get your request filled if you mean it full-heartedly, with sincerity, and don't dwell on it. Don't wonder why it's not coming. Forget about it. You know, when it comes, it'll seem like it was yesterday. You can be rich with money and saddled with logistical nightmares. You can be rich with knowledge and unsaddled from life's hypocrisies and societal trainings. You can be whatever you choose. You can know whatever you know. But let me say one thing. We're all born with the answers inside our head. When I was a third-dimensional being, many thousands of years ago on a planet long far from here, I can look back now and I knew the answers. I just didn't trust my innate, my gut feeling quite enough to chase that dream. That's why I chose James as my mouthpiece. He's got the balls to chase the dream. He's never gone by what society has said. He's never played by the stupid rules that didn't make logical sense. If they made logical sense, he'd play by those rules. But sooner or later, the way mankind has things structured to lean one way or another, kind of like all the sexual accusations coming out of the government right now. You know, I forgot what I was saying about that had anything to do with sexual harassment. Oh, it's the downright unwillingness to even think that you did anything wrong. If you did what you did, resign from your position. If you worked for Goodyear or American Airlines, you certainly would be fired. You work for the American people. Quit disrespecting them. And if you've done something wrong and it's been unseated and known to the public, step down, do your duty. The only reason you're not is because Bill Clinton set the precedent back in your 1990s linear time that it's okay to do what you want and keep on being in charge. And it's not okay. If you worked for me, you'd be looking for unemployment. And you'd probably have a black eye. Well, James anyways. That's one thing about your planet that's really upsetting me right now. And it started on a false premise, the Roy Moore thing. I'll tell you right now, my children, that's not a real thing. That's a witch hunt. That's a ghost chase. That's a chase of the chicken, you know. They're out to get him. There's a heavy hand trying to make him falter. But I'm afraid it's going to backfire, and your Democrats are going to look worse in the long run because of it. They're like a sinking ship. And stewards up there going, no, no, no. The hole's fixed. It's okay. We're not sinking anymore. And nobody believes them. And they're running past him going, bull. You're full of it. We're gone. See ya. That's the Democratic Party now. Now, I can't vote because I'm not a citizen of your earth. I do know how James voted. I will not reveal his personal information. But I will tell you this. You're Mr. President Trump, the orange man. A lot was stacked against him from the word go. They laughed in his face. The man is a light worker, genius, old soul, all-knowing, pattern-seeing, guesstimation, psychic, to put it in some words. He's a lot of things, but he's a genius. Listen to how he speaks. Everything's always big, great, perfect, grand. It's going to be lovely. It's going to be awesome. It's a love fest. Nothing is ever, it's bad. Nothing's ever going to turn out wrong. Nothing ever goes bad. And he keeps that mindset and doesn't think twice that it's going to be any other way. And look how he lives his life. He's a billionaire. He's got beautiful children, a beautiful family. He's got everything he ever wanted. And then he ran for president and won when he wasn't supposed to. So, if there was anybody ever born to be the president, it's him. And if these people in your world would stop dogging him because they just said he wasn't going to win and they can't admit that he did, is the one basic reason I can think of. There's probably a lot more, but if they could just stop, give him a break, he would be a better president than Reagan ever was. He would be the best, and he could still be. Depends on how circumstances play out. You've got a few more of your linear years left, maybe even more than a few. But it depends on how circumstances play out, my children. This man, give him a chance, and I guarantee he will turn your country around, and you will be a prosperous, all awesome, most awesome place like we used to be with American ingenuity. That thing that attracted us to you from the quantum. We felt that energy, that excitement. It's a spooky distance action thing. We could know, we felt it. When we pray to God, it's an energy you're putting out. The good vibrations out there feel it and attract to it. That's God. We're all God. Any good vibrations traveling through that guy are going to feel subconsciously somewhere in the ether you're good, and it's all connected in a web of invisible ether awesomeness that is delicious to take a bite of. Okay, dark matter. What's dark matter? We have the telescopes to see it. We can't see it though. It's dark. We can't see into it. We do know one thing, it's expanding. I have a theory. Remember what I have said before about there's half-truths in the Bible and just enough truth there to keep us scratching our heads, but there's also enough contradictment in there to go, but wait, but it's been around for all this time, so it must have some knowledge. Well, we wrote it in the future and delivered it to the past, and it's been sitting around for thousands of years now because of that, so yeah, it looks old. But I'm telling you, it's not written by God, it's written by my son's grandson's son's son's grandson's son's daughter's son. And he passed the message off to some scientists who attached it somehow in a time ship, and I'm writing a book about it. The whole story will come out. James is writing the book. I'm feeding him the information. Now, this is not a guess on my part. Targus and him don't guess. He's in the quantum, so everything that is ever going to happen has happened, is happening, and will always happen. Every thought, every breath, every moment that takes your breath away, every rule you break, every song you fake, everything is out in the ether. It's always already happening. James would like to think his dad died when he was 22 years old, which would have been, what, 30-something of your linear years ago, and he misses him terribly. But I know that James's dad just died in the physical three-dimensional world. It just happened. It'll always have just happened. Until, from James's perspective, he leaves, goes back, source, old soul, older soul now, comes back again. We come in clusters. His dad will be another part of the new cluster. Anyways, back to the dark matter. Dark matter is expanding. Why does it expand? We cannot come up with any reason why, and I'll tell you why it expands. And it has to do with a half-truth in the Bible. This is something the people of the future knew. They figured it out. And so they put this little tidbit in there. There are many rooms in heaven. I have rooms for all of you. Do not worry, my child. There are many rooms in heaven. Everybody will have a room. There's a lot of us in Source. And when we first created the universe, we came in small packs. And now we're, what, almost 7 billion of us here just on the Earth planet alone? When we decide to come from Source to third-dimensional blood and bone bag bodies, linear time and relative ways of thinking, and people that have lived just as long as you, but went to a little more schools, think they know more than you, and try to train you on how to live your life, and it goes against what you feel, and because you know the answers. Like I said, you know you got the answers if you listen to your innate. Your innate is that gut feeling. It's something you're born with. It comes through from Source, and you're trained to ignore it. But I'm telling you to listen to it. It's always right. Anyways, dark matter is where Source is. That is where we come from. That is where our home is. You can't see there because when you're born, you go through a process of an amnesia process. You can't know everything from Source and live in a third-dimensional body. Your mind would instantly be blown. As soon as it became a blood and bones three-dimensional thing, as soon as you started getting your quantum consciousness about you, your brain would just explode. You wouldn't be able to handle it in that manner. You would have to be a different type of entity. You'd have to ascend to a place where you're part physical, but also part in the ether, in the quantum, where you can exist in different consciousnesses and dimensions, so that the understanding of the quantum in all places at all times and everything is that understanding is so easy to understand in the quantum, if it's quantum thinking, quantum knowing, in third-dimensional ways of thinking. And that's the best way you can. I mean, I'm not blaming you guys. You're doing really good for having third-dimensional bodies. Your brains can only use so much of their power. You're at, what, 10, 11% now of using all your brain power? You'll only ever get up to 15 maybe before you ascend as whole clusters of people. So dark matter is where we came from. We all concentrated hard and decided to create a playground for us to come to in third-dimensional ways and to experience life in different facets. It was all for fun, just something to do in the beginning. Now it's a matter of helping people to understand, and which is called in the Bible spreading the word of God. If you love anything, if you feel any joy in your heart, in your life, anything at all, you have God in you. You are part of God. That collective goodness from every soul in the world, and every soul who has ever lived, and every good dog that loved you, and every squirrel that felt thankful because you threw him a piece of bread, that's all love. That's all God. And it's all stored in the Akashic grid, and it's all there, and it's all your currency, shall we say, your importance and Source. Like Tesla, he came back, well, at least once that I know of. His kid named Max, who Built a Tesla coil out of $14 from the hardware store. But anyways, they're rock stars. They go back to source and they're like rock stars. They're like, man, you did this in the physical world. You really pushed the boundary, man. The contrast. People saw the contrast, man. You helped it. So you come down here and create chaos and make people think and give people reason to understand different ways of thinking and think outside the box and, you know, disrupt society and don't let them train you to think that way and blah, blah, blah. You're pushing the contrast of source. You're making this the whole reason for everything. It's the whole reason we came here, to get people to think and not be taken over by what seems to be the important things from our perspective in 3D. Money, family, and greed. Our family around us in this third dimensional world, we tend to think that that's our only family. When actually, like I say, we come through in clusters. My mom this time could have been my great aunt last time, or my babysitter last time, or my daughter. My dad this time could have been my son last time, or my dog before. We all come for the contrast. You don't get upset when because you're told on the other side before you're born, okay, you're going to be born with some medical problems. You're going to have to go through a lot, but you're going to really push the contrast. This is points for you. You're going to be a rock star when you get back. Okay, so you're born a quadriplegic. You're in a wheelchair all your life. Go through all this pain and misery and suffering. But you know what? Those are the happiest people in the world. Have you ever noticed? They're happy. Why? Because they know. They know. Those people know. The veil is thinner for them. They know. They see. They feel. They're on the verge. People that are born with pretty teeth and a perfect blonde hair and got quarterback and a good homecoming queen and all that. Those people are preoccupied with three-dimensional life. What we say this is what is important. The Bible, look how old it is. It's been around for thousands of years. It must be the truth. It must be important. Spread the word of God. Okay? Right now, from me, ToracM, from a point in the quantum, channeling through James, I am bringing God to you. I am exposing what God is to you, to everybody. The truth is known. Any goodness that survives anywhere in your planet, in your souls, anywhere, not even in your planet, in your universe, in the galaxy, any goodness thrives on other goodness, like spooky action at a distance. And co-creation, those feelings attract, people attract. Pretty soon, you got a world of good. It's a balancing act. Pretty soon it'll balance out. You get enough good people here, enough there, there's going to be a rapture, they're going to call it. Actually, it's going to be a bunch of people that finally figured it out, ascended, disappeared into the quantum. Those hardcore religious people down in the South are going to be like, but what did we do wrong? Why didn't they take us? Well, you didn't understand it. You took it too literally. You didn't read between any lines, and you didn't do any thinking for yourself. You let society tell you, and what do they know? There are people that have been on this earth just as long as you. They know nothing more than you do. They're making assumptions, and you're listening to them because somebody has to know, right? No. You know. We all know. It's in the back of our heads when we're born. Tap into your innate and know it. Don't listen to science teacher. Don't listen to go in the army, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. Do what you want to do. Okay? If you want to go in the army, if that feels like what your physical thing is to do, do it. It'll be great. If you're doing it with good vibrations, it'll only lead you to good places. You'll be on the right path. You'll be at the right place at the right time. You'll get your microwave. Those of you who see my other videos know what I'm saying. Okay, so see, it's all one. One good thing leads to another, to another, to another. One way of thinking leads to another way, another, and I call you all light workers. Shine your friggin' lights, people. Take it to the darkest corners of this earth, because there are some dark corners. Shine them in the Hillary camp. Find the dark corners and shine your lights. Light workers unite, because darkness will run from light. Darkness is an absence of light. Light is not an absence of dark. You see, light will not run from dark, but dark will always run from light. That will tell you right there. And you can prove that with science and a flashlight in a dark room. That will tell you right there the true nature of good versus evil. The Bible says, for the half-truths, the good will always win. And it will. It's more powerful. It's light. Dark is evil. Dark runs from light. Evil runs from good. We all got God in us. Let me tell you a story about James. He used to live in this halfway house when he got out of his motorcycle accident. He was in a coma, going through a divorce, really down on his luck, but the veil was thin for him. He could see the omens through from the other side, and his innate was strong, and his gut instinct was telling him, and he was on the verge of, I was starting to contact him actually at that point. He just thought he had brain damage, was going crazy. It's been almost 10 years now, and he's fine. But in this room next to him, this lady moved in, and James believed she was possessed with an entity of misdeed, dark, non-trusting entity that just wanted to wreak havoc on anything and anybody it could. And all it was a thought form that came into reality by believing throughout years of myths and mysticism. And I mean, you know, the tribe in Africa that believes about the monster in the hills that eats the whatever at night, and if you don't do this or that, and they say it originally to scare the children, but it goes on for years through generations. And you know what? I always say, if you say a lie enough times, it'll become the truth. If you tell yourself enough times you have a brand new car out in that driveway, pretty soon there'll be a brand new car out in that driveway. How it got there, I don't know, but there will be, because that's what I'm saying. That's the law of attraction. A lie can become real if you mean it. If you say it enough, live it. If that's your story, yeah, it's real. And the truth will go down that way in history. So, there are things that exist in this world that are real because of the thought form put behind them. And you can't lend too much credence to it. You got to know what it is and give it that. You know, a demon is a demon because he was created by man's strength of mind. A lie told that was refreshed over and over and over again into the minds of children through generations and became real. Therefore, don't let that stuff frighten you. If you say to yourself, that's the truth, that's what it is, a lie told over and over that became real, it can't hurt you. So this lady moved in next to me, and she needed an exorcism. When I would go out to go to the bathroom in the hallway, her door would be open. She'd be sitting there, cross-legged on her floor, looking at the TV in the dark. And she would look at me like this. This is James speaking. And just stare at me. I shut the bathroom door and peed. Came out and went and looked at her and went right into my room. Didn't know what to do. Okay, go Torak. This is Torak speaking. So, James was a little tripping at that point. He was still coming out of his coma. He wasn't sure about the messages he was hearing in his head. He thought he was going crazy. And so I sent him one strong blast download right then. James, get up and fight. Like you did in your coma, like your sister said. I don't know if James ever told you that story, but he had to fight to live when he was in his coma. Once he decided to, kind of like a victim in a nightmare, you can't even yell for help. You can't get up and fight. You can't stand up for yourself. It was like that until he decided, no, I'm going to live. And he got mad. He fought these figments of his mind. And as soon as he did that, he was sucked into source. And the decision room, the white room, he talked to the voice above voices. And the decision was made that he fought to live, and he's got to go back and finish. And the reason why he's got to go back will be explained later, and now he knows what it is. It was to channel me, so all of you could hear the messages. Anyways, I'm sorry I go off on tangents because I'm so excited to speak with you, and I am still new at this, and so is James. So, you know, I go off on tangents. I forgot what I was speaking about before I went off on that other thing. Anyways, let's talk about critters. You've always heard me say that rarely when you see a UFO, it's an actual alien ship from another planet. It's usually a space-time continual ship from our future government, the remnants of the Nazi government that won World War II, until we backroom created some time travel technology by some American lineaged people that still practiced the dark American arts in secret, like drinking homemade beer and speaking in English and listening to country music. So these guys said, screw this stupid government we work for. If we figure anything big out, let's develop a protocol so they won't know about it. And they did it. And anyways, it's all in the book I'm writing. And they pulled off the biggest upset in the history of the world. The Nazis thought they won that. Hundreds of years they had it won. They had the world to themselves. No more borders. But it was a dictator world government. You lived where you worked. You did what you were told. You weren't allowed to practice the old world customs. You couldn't drink your Budweiser and speak English and go hee-haw. You had to act of the new world, speak of the new world language. You didn't have to say Heil Hitler, but there were remnants and parts of the German language in the new language. But that was the only language that had any parts of it in it. All the other ones were tried to abolish. But there were Chinese people off in the little corners and other ethnicity groups, and everybody passed down their tongues, you know, secretly, and it's all going to survive. Well, it already has survived because of the time travel thing. But you can't keep people down like that. And so these scientists were really frustrated with their lives. They wanted to know their American heritage. They knew that they had roots in Alabama and Georgia, and let's see, Letton was from Illinois, and then Shuroff was from New Orleans, and where the Arch is, St. Louis was Doug, Shuroff, Letton, and Jerry. These are the four scientists that saved our ass, really, in 2838. So these guys figured out time travel, kept it secret from the messed up government. Had a buddy in the space mining fleet who was on a travel one day to a nearby moon to mine for an ore that we need for plasma engagement, which to me, from the quantum, I'm not even going to get it. Someday it'll make sense to all of them. Anyways, remember, mark that moment in your linear time. For in the quantum, it'll be there always. And when you get there, you'll be like, oh yeah, remember that? Yep. And we didn't even need that. So anyway, so we're finding this one certain guy who's also of American heritage and hangs out with our buddies sometimes in their little secret basement down in below the complex area there. They have it shielded and screened off to where no radio waves can get in. The Big Brother government can't listen in on them, try to bust them. The death would be penalty if they were caught acting like Americans. Okay. The penalty would be death, I'm sorry. That's James's dyslexia. So they really do go out of their way to keep their heritage secret and their disregard and disdain for the New World government. So I've always said there's not really that many UFOs when you look up in the sky. It's mostly our time ships. I remember where I was trying to get back to. This is where. It's mostly our time ships, right? You're seeing us come in and out of time flux fields, phase, dimensional triangulation phasers. And sometimes you catch lights of us and it looks like we're dancing around when we're actually coming in and out of what you would call time, space. And so we use this to our advantage to keep you confused and make you keep thinking it's UFOs dancing around up there. Sometimes we'll even come out and put on a show at night like Phoenix Lights just to keep you scratching your head. Because, after all, this whole thing, from the time we went back, from the time we went way back to destroy dinosaurs, from the time we waited for civilization to rise, mankind to build cities, we went back to all that. We were responsible for all that. We set up the whole deck. We stacked the whole thing for thousands and thousands of years to come, so that America would win everything, so that America would come on top of everything. You think things are flukes? No. You shoot a law of attraction, a rocket out, do it right, like a true light worker, and my gosh, that wish is fulfilled like it's always been there. And the unfolding is delicious. Okay? That's it. That's why America is blessed, because we chose it to be. And we are the greatest country. We don't believe in dictators and tater tots and dickheads. No, just kidding. Target has a sense of humor. We don't believe in that. Okay? If any one government should rule the world for the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years to come, it should be a country like America. We all have to keep secrets, so does America. And if they have to keep their ability to travel through time secret so that the Nazis can't get it and mess up our future, that's fine. Or use it as a weapon or whatever, that's fine. But they didn't have to confuse us the way they did. They could have made it a much more reasonable sounding thing that we would have bought into much easier. But they chose to confuse us with half-truths and more lies and things that made sense but then didn't make sense. And through time they might, but then they say this and then they say that, and then the people start thinking, and the internet and everything gets twisted and turned, and now people don't know what to think. My children, it's all so simple. Clear your minds. Empty the box, jump out of that fucking box, and look at that box from another bigger box. Then jump into a bigger box and look at that box inside of that box. What are you seeing now? That's 3. Do it one more time. You're in quantum. Wrap your head around it. My children, I love you so much. So, if there's not that many UFOs in our skies, what were the astronauts talking about in the Apollo missions? Well, they currently now refer to them as critters. There are living organisms in space. That's what they are. They're round. They could be interpreted as a UFO, but some of them are miles in diameter. They're invisible. You can only see them under infrared light spectrum. Invisible to your third-dimensional eyeballs. But they're everywhere. Sometimes you catch them in digital photographs as orbs, the smaller ones. The bigger ones stay closer out of the atmosphere. But they're alive. They are a visual explanation of built energies stored up static energies from a physical place or object or an event that happened at a place with an object. if somebody crashed here into a tree and died on the spot, you'll get pictures of orbs there for the rest of eternity. Every time you take a digital photograph with flash on. 20 feet away, you won't. You might, but you might probably not. But always in the spot where the event happened, you will get orbs. And not only just orbs, you'll get the same orbs. I went through an orb picture taking phase. James did. And he started naming them. He'd go to this one tree every night, take a picture. The same ones would be in the same almost kind of places. This one would be fat, looking like a watermelon. This one would look like a little sun. This one would look blue like a half moon. And he started noticing they hung around the same spots all the time, which had meaning. That means something happened here, and this is an energy that's connected to that. Okay, well, that's a critter. There's critters in space. They hang around different astral bodies. They're curious about things. Just like orbs at night. You go out, start flashing your flash around, they come around, they want to see what you're doing. Okay, you go to a graveyard, they'll show up. They want to see what you're doing. They're interested. And maybe even trying to get our attention. Maybe they know if you have a mechanical flash device that you might be able to see them. Maybe that's why they swarm around sometimes the way they do. I've taken pictures where you can't see the people through the photograph because it looks like snow. So many orbs. Just blocked with orbs, but it's not a malfunction because there's the tree there and you can see the people, but it's just like half opaque from orbs everywhere. No gaps. Seeing through the orbs. They're trying to say, look, there's things out here that you don't understand in your third dimensional bodies, in your third dimensional societal training by people that have lived as long as you have, that maybe a younger soul than you, and they're trying to say they went to 4 years of college so they can tell you what's up. No, 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 no. You got to go to the school of hard knocks, be an old soul, live this life like James has 14,000 times. You got to be hard as a rock. You got to be knowing and full of wisdom and knowledge and have the answers in your head and be willing to listen to them and have the balls to take the courage to step off that cliff and take the leap. Big rewards come to those who believe they know and follow through. So the critters, they're another form of animal. I believe some critters are attached to certain people. Orbs, fairy godmothers, whatever, guardian angels, things that are there that help you when you need them. Some are different colors, they give off different feelings. Mysterious ways, my friends. Anyways, that's all I have to say for you today. One other thing, I do have one other thing to say. For all of you that have cancer, I'll tell you why you have cancer. You've lived a life of unhappiness. Somewhere deep-seated resentment, anger, hatred, frustration, being cheated on, you're too fat, whatever. Builds up. This is just the main aspect of why people get cancer. Builds up and presents itself as a disease that's going to kill you because you really want to not live this way anymore. But to those of you who wake up happy every day, glad you're alive, loving your life, doing everything right, you won't get cancer. But if you do, what do I always say, my children? If something doesn't make logical sense, then there's a lie in there somewhere. If your life is perfect and happy and you love your life, at least that's your story, but you get cancer, you're lying. A guilt-free soul that can walk with conviction and needs no proof and does not need to explain to anybody will never get cancer. Or any other major diseases that will kill them like that. Because let me tell you this. Just like God is in everybody who has any good in them, That's everybody on every planet that has life in the universe and in the solar system, everywhere. There could be so many third-dimensional beings or quantum. There could be so many. Think about this. You have more cells in your body than that. And to those cells, they hear you. They know your voice because they are part of you. They think you are God. Love your body. Love it with your heart and soul, for real. Talk to yourselves. Tell them, hey, if there's any of you out of, whack a little bit, something's going on, fix it. You other guys, get over there, help them out. Some antibodies, this, that, do your jobs. Hey, receptors kick in. What, you're getting old? Okay, here's some THC. Kick in. You see how things work? We have receptors in our bodies for things like that, but as we age, they don't work as well because linear time says that, and so we accept it, and that's how we end up aging. If you were never told you were ever going to grow old and die, and you never had any fathoming of that, and it wouldn't make any sense to you to ever even think that way, you would live forever because that's what you expected. When my mom was about 55, every time I asked her how she was doing, her answer started to become the same. Getting old. Well, as soon as you start saying that, you're getting old. You're going to die. You're just admitted to death. You've given in. Then I see people her same age that are out weed whacking. I bet 20 years ago, you ask them how they're doing great. Going to have a beer after this. Then we're going to go bowling tonight. And hey, you're doing your physical life thing right on, as long as you're happy. Most people live longer, they don't get cancer. And say you're just now finding the truth, the source, the contrast, the light workers, the truth of it all, the reasons why we're here. If you're just not, and it's exciting when you finally figure out the truth. When you finally figure it out and you know it, it's so exciting. That's why the ancient aliens people seem so passionate, because they're close. They're very close. It's just not aliens, it's us. They're right about everything else, but it's just not aliens, it's us. We are the aliens. So you can see the passion in them. And that's the passion that I have in me right now, because right now I'm curing cancer in James's body. If there is any, it's gone. But there wasn't any, because it's never there, because he can't think that way. James's came from nothing 3 times in his life, back up to a point of having abundance, with or without a wife and kids, on his own or not on his own, through hard times and harder times. He's done it and done it and done it. And now it's old hat. He's almost like a wizard in this world, where he can make things happen by a day's worth of focusing brain power. Not the law of attraction. Critical thinking. It's a whole other level. At any rate, I can feel James wearing out, but he is getting better at this. And I just want to keep talking to you guys. I love you all so much. And I'm so excited to be able to come from the quantum through to you now. For somebody who has the ability to speak the proper words of the download I'm putting to him. And although in the beginning he messed my name up because of where the points I was at in quantum, 2 different points at 2 different of your times, and anyways, all the same, we take our chances. This is ToracM. I'm coming to you from the quantum, and I'm so thrilled to be talking to you all today. I love you guys so much, so much. Bless James. Help him if he needs help. I would like to say one thing. James' mother is dying of Alzheimer's. His kids are in Washington State. His wife took them away when he was in his coma and divorced him. And he really has nobody in his life now. He's desperately lonely. So what? So he made up you, ToracM, your imaginary friend? No, it's not like that. But he's in a way, and he's so busy focusing on light working and me that he's not taking the time to shoot a rocket of desire out for himself or figure out how he needs to find a soulmate or do something that his physical three-dimensional body needs. So, any of you out there got any co-creative ideas? Send an email. ToracM is James at gmail.com. TARGUS capital MIS James at google.com. I wish you all a good day. Much love and happiness to you all. And I will catch you on the flip-flop. I will leave you with James now. Starting to feel so much better every time I come out of one of these sessions. It's like an addiction. I'm starting to really like it. Anyways, I really don't remember what he talks about anymore. I have to go back and watch them, but hope it was interesting. And I would like to say that I will do in-person channels for absolutely free, maybe a donation for some gas money, something like that, to get to your location, for however big a crowd you need, or you'd like. If you'd like me to ask Torac to speak on a certain subject, I will need a few weeks advance notice on the subject so he can have the knowledge ready. Or if he was in quantum speaking to a quantum being, it would be blah, right there, instantaneous. But he's got to put it through to the 3D, and it's like a download. So it's better if he has the stuff ready. Anyways, yeah. I love you guys. I'm so happy Torac found me, and man, I climbed as a person to a mile of crap more than once, and I've always came out smelling like roses. And that's my motto for the day. You all have a great one. This is James, the channeler for ToracM, and I am out, my children.